Another one of these beautiful Blake poems, very, very touching, almost sentimental. Though I don't think I'd ever accuse Blake of sentimentality, because what he seems to be embodying in this otherwise simple poem is, I think, something quite profound. Notice again, the structure is 2 stanzas, just like in the Lamb and just like in the little boy lost. Notice also that he's got in the structure of the plates, he's got the picture above and the words below. Notice that here he has got the little boy, as it says, was lost in the lonely fen, and he's terrified. And yet the whole time he's being led by a wandering light. In the midst of darkness and sorrow and misery, Blake seems to suggest, there is still this light that leads us through the darkness and through the fen and through the marsh. And yet the little boy, because he's young and doesn't understand what's going on around him, because he's innocent, begins to cry. And in the poem, Blake emphasizes his crying and the fact that he is guarded. He emphasizes it by stopping the poem in the middle of the line. If you look in line 3, there is a semicolon right after he began to cry. And the poem comes to a halting stop. It's called a caesura in poetry. A caesura is a break in the middle of the line where the line comes to a dead stop and then starts again. And that dead stop implies that the boy's sorrow is a sorrow almost about death. He's crying because of his own loss. And yet that sorrow, that stop, that caesura, picks up again with, but God, right? But God was there. And in the midst of that darkness, God brings him out of the mire. And brings him, interestingly enough, as a father, dressed all in white, to his mother. So it's in the original poem, it's Father walking too fast. God, the light, the whatever we call the Father force, is going too fast. Here, that God, same Father force, doesn't stop necessarily, but leads him out to his mother, who has been seeking him, crying, waiting for him to find him. And the picture that we get then, interestingly enough, has down below the words, again, in this sort of ethereal manner, but there's no longer the many angels guarding, but one angel who seems almost to be pointing the way, almost like this is the word of God now, pointing the way. And up above, we have the image of the little boy with his mom. The same feminine elements in the last poem that was so terrifying, the vapor and the dew and the mire, the darkness, now take on the form of the feminine, the mother, the person that is the first beloved for a young man. And she's dressed all in white, which makes her identity one with the light of the father figure. And she's guiding the little boy who looks up to her with a sense of innocence and joy and expectation, almost unaware of the fact that behind him and behind her is this dense darkness that he's coming out of. And notice again, cleverly enough, the trees on either side, not twisty now, but almost forming a tunnel. And I like the one tree, there are 2 here on either side, and then the one tree, almost like it's falling over on them, but they're out of it. It's behind them. And that crash of the tree that might be falling behind them is not something to worry about anymore, because now the little boy has been found. And the poem, again, takes on another dimension, not just of a young boy lost in the marshes, but I think the dimension of every human being's loss of the vision of the divine, wherein the masculine part of us, the part of reason and of courage and of bravery, all those things identified with masculine power, is subdued, is cowed, is trapped by the terror of chaos and of darkness, which is the feminine form in its negative aspect. And when things are righted again, put right, that masculine form becomes powerful, but also obedient and follows implicitly and trustingly the feminine force and the light of the divine, which leads us out of the darkness and back into the world of the human, back into the world of light. Perfect plate for the songs of innocence.